Ladies and gentlemen, for those who don't know me, I am Nigel, Jessica's dad. Just said that, you know.
Louder, Nigel, louder.
On behalf of my wife Gillian and I, we welcome you all here to celebrate the wedding of Jessica and Francis. I would also like to welcome Frank and Mary, Francis's parents, and all relatives and friends who have travelled here to celebrate this wedding. Jessica has always been a happy, confident person, and today looks absolutely stunning. Yes! It makes us very proud. I would like to welcome our new son-in-law, Francis, to the family. We all hope Jessica and Francis will have a long and happy future together. So, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to raise your glasses and toast the happy couple.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'd now like to introduce your groom for the day. It's Mr. Francis Sheridan.
Okay, before we start, I think it may be worth mentioning that there's going to be several toasts during the next few minutes, so please could you ensure that your glasses are charged. And going on what I've seen from Lisa, Natasha, Andrew and Nikki, you may want to sip and not gulp. Today's a mile for the spoon. I must warn you though that these toasts, you're going to be up and down like a fiddler's elbow, so table 4, please pace yourself. One of the guests is a nurse, so she'll be able to give you any massages for any cramp or anything like that.
Jesus, don't tell him that.
So, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, on behalf of my very newest Mrs. Sheridan and myself, we would like you to thank you and welcome you to our special day. I would also like to thank you all for the wonderful presents and cards. I would like to thank my brand new, shiny father-in-law, Nigel, for his kind words, his good wishes, and congratulate him on managing to finally palm his oldest daughter off on somebody. And we will forgive him for changing the locks when he found out that I proposed to Jess. No, seriously though, I would like to thank Jess's mum, dad, and grandmother for giving us this beautiful day and welcoming me into such a wonderful family and allowing me to marry one of the most beautiful, kind-hearted, selfless people I have ever met. I would ask you to all raise your glasses to Nigel, Jill and Joan. Yeah.
That's for my darling around the Nan? Nan? Sure. So we're working with that.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you'll agree that all the bridesmaids all look absolutely wonderful and did a great job of getting Jess to the church without any evidence of kicking or screaming. I would therefore like you to be upstanding and raise your glasses to Charlotte, Jen, Risha, Phoebe, Rihanna. Please raise your glasses to the bridesmaids. Do
you want an empty one?
Would you like to come over, girls, and get your gifts, please? Rihanna? No rush.
He's got the lines. Mark's got them.
Where's Mark?
Oh, they could he was.
There's nothing for them.
Where's he gone?
I give them a hug to be alright.
Later. Later. Later.
We'll sort that out.
I haven't brought any really.
We let that bit in.
They must be wearing one thing.
You can go have these.
Okay, on to Frankie and Mary. I can't let today go by without thanking my mother and father for contributing to our special day, for their unrelated love and support over the years and welcoming Jess into our family like one of their own. Mum, thank you for picking me up when I fell and being there when I was low. Dad, thank you for teaching me your morals to be the strong-willed man that I am today. And thank you for bringing up such a good-looking son. I'd like to...
And your dad's? Where's your dad's? You haven't brought any presents, have you, Jack?
Oh, yeah. Frankie, yours is where the bridesmaids are. So.
It's called in the shop, Frankie.
Bridesmaids, you can come back up. Excellent.
Bridesmaids, for the benefit of the video...
6:29.
Here's 6:23.
So who had the least?
14, I'm 14.
I'm 14.
Oh yeah.
Who's got the most? So if it goes over 18, got it in the bag.
Get the mic off, man. We can't see me.
It's going to get to 17 minutes. I'm going to finished.
I could do the brick
Everything's under that too.
Whoever's got a bit of a funny speech, think again, it's got a bit longer.
Take your time, Frank. Take your time.
17 minutes, man, please.
15 cut from
17.
I would also like to thank a special friend who this week, as well as the last few years, has been a fantastic help to Jess and I, despite at the latter end of this week, he watched me explode due to high stress levels and have to go through me throwing a rain of F's into him. He still managed to calm me down. He's been there for us the last 2 weeks, polishing cars and been a great help to Jess. And I would please ask you to put your hands together if you could be upstanding. Rob, show your face. Rob Richards. I think I've missed something. I think I've missed.
What did you say?
I've missed something.
8 pints for.
I think you say.
I think I missed
Am I? No, I don't.
I reckon it's probably looking at about
40 minutes.
No, I would like to also thank my little superstar son Riley for being page boy and doing the biggest job of the day, looking after the rings. Riley, thank you for accepting Jess into your life and becoming best pals with her. He only said last month that he was going to call her mammy like Mrs. Brown's Buds. So please, put your hands together and give a massive cheer for my son Riley. By the way, I did not train him to shout the bank house at the church.
It's already in them.
was hilarious.
I would like to give a special thank you to everybody that's travelled with us to be with us today, especially for all of those that come from Ireland. You have made me very proud of making the journey from Dublin. Jess and I would like to thank you sincerely from the bottom of our hearts for that.
Cheers.
I'd also like to thank my Uncle Trevor and Auntie Nellie for a wonderful cake they have made for us, and Emma, Dave and Marcus for the cake topper. And I would ask you to put your hands together for such a wonderful job that they've done. Now, as many of you know, my best man here, Scott, is my best mate. And when I say best mates, I mean like brothers. As many of you know, we've been pals since we were babies, so Scott has an awful lot of crap on me.
Oh yeah.
So he's the only one I'm not going to thank at this point. When Scott does get married, I have a barrage of half-truths and deceits to give out at his wedding, so I would like you to bear that in mind when he delivers his speech about me. However, I am thankful that his memory is not as good after copious amounts of alcohol we used to get through when we were younger. So I'm hopeful I will get through his speech pretty unscathed. So Scott, I will thank you for everything you've done today, son.
No problem, dear boy.
Yeah, but if you want a couple of jars out of me later, you better watch your step. Seriously though, for being one of the most best of friends a man could ever wish for all of his life, I'd like to thank you, brother.
Oh, no trouble.
Jess asked me why we were having a 2-day wedding event, but then she quickly realised that she was asking a stupid question after spending a few days with the Irish clan in Dublin a few years back. I think her words were along the lines of, "You lot only seem to start warming up after the first day." I must warn you, some of you guests though, if you live on these English shores, to not get engaged in any drinking games with the velvet tongue ones. Especially my Uncle Joe and Marian's girls, as they have the delicate dresses. And you will not fare well with a drink off with them, especially the innocent Marilyn Monroe lookalike. Well, here I stand before you, a married man. Let me tell you, things would have been a whole lot different if my letter was answered back in the 80s by Jimmy Savile. As many of you are aware, I did the classy thing and proposed to Jess on one knee at the top of the Guinness Tower in St James's Gate in Dublin a few years ago, but we sort of sprung this wedding on you guys pretty recently. When we first announced it, I will never forget my sister Julie's response to the call. "Ju, I'm getting married to Jess," I said. Her response was, "Jesus, finally Peter Pan's getting married." When taking myself off to Ireland with my best man, when I passed my driving test back in the 80s, I quickly realised that Scott was having real difficulty being English and understanding my uncles, aunties and cousins, them being Irish. And to be fair, I didn't understand my dad until I was about 14.
I'm still working on that.
Yeah. This became a concern for me when organising the wedding. Therefore, so the rest of the evening runs smoothly, I think it's fair for all guests, for Scott and I, to run you through a few translations from Irish to English and vice versa. Please understand that we have substituted any foul language for a more Mrs. Brown's approach. Scott will do the English and I will translate the Irish for you.
I'm starting to feel a little tipsy.
I'm absolutely locked.
That's a bit of a troubled area.
That's nothing but a kip.
I would like to introduce you to my father.
This is the old fella.
That's an interesting thing on the table.
What's that yoke on the table?
That's very good, or that's very bad.
Ah, that's savage.
He's acting like an idiot.
He's nothing but a tool.
I think that may be broken.
That's banjoed.
I'm having a fantastic night.
This is a rapid night.
She's a beautiful looking girl.
She's a Roy.
I don't think any political party could sort this recession out.
The trouble is, half the country don't know what the other two turds want. Right, shortly after my 30th birthday, I get the feeling that the Sheridan family were running a sweepstake on what year I was going to get married. So anyone that bet pre-2014, I'm sorry you lost, but I was sticking to a saying. Good things come to those that wait. As many of you are aware, I've had some rocky roads over the last 10 years, and I can safely say that the only reason why I'm stood before you today and not in a mental hospital is because of the love, devotion and understanding of my beautiful wife. Jess has been an absolute rock for me, guided me when I'm down, found the bright side of a bad situation, and encouraged me to start chasing my dreams again, when at the time I was at my lowest. They say that a wife should not be just your wife, but your best friend. That's not to say that I want you to end up being a hairy arse monster like me. Joking aside, with Jess I found the perfect wife. It was very important to me to find somebody that would accept Riley into the mix. And it's clear to everyone that she loves my boy with all of her heart, and Riley loves her with all of his. She's kind, she's loving, she's caring, she always putting herself before others, and most importantly, accepting the Sheridan surname involves one important thing that I think we all know Jess has got. She likes to drink.
Just want to show them what the sponsor of that, Fran. What's that?
Now, as most of you know, there was a sort of intermission between our relationship before we got engaged for about 5 years. But when we got back together, it happened over very strange circumstances. I was driving home at 3:30 in the morning, and as Jess's mum and dad lived around 7 doors down from my folks, I spotted something unusual on Jess's driveway that was black, quiet, and still with eyes shining. Minding my own business, I drove past and parked my car on my drive. I then looked down the road to see this object moving. Firstly, I began to crap myself as I read in the local paper that week that there had been a big cat spotted in the area. I think the kids were force-feeding cats steroids on the estate at the time. But then I heard the object scream and laugh. Cautiously, I moved closer to find that it was Jess in a black dress who had just come in from the club that I'd been working in that night. I had seen her walking out of the club with her friends and she seemed to be fine. But when I found her on a driveway, she was a little worse for wear, and the contents of her purse were all over the driveway. I asked her, "Are you okay?" She replied, "Who the hell are you?" I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "Jess, it's Fran." Now bear in mind, we hadn't spoken to one another for 5 years because we'd been moving in different circles. Her response was, "Oh, Fran, and what do you want?" I replied to her, "I saw you on the floor there and just came out to the driveway to see... wait a minute. I saw you... I saw you on the floor there and just came to see if you're okay." With the contents of her purse all over her driveway, she said to me she couldn't find a house key. After examining the contents on the drive, I asked to look in her bag. She wouldn't allow me. I tried to explain to her that I couldn't find the key on the floor and it must be in her bag. But at this point, she was too drunk to focus on the bloody key, never mind the bag. After whacking me around the head with her bag a few times, I managed to convince her to let me inspect her empty bag. Guess where the key was? In her bag. As suspected, I stood and watched her stabbing the front door with her key for 5 minutes. After I'd composed myself from the laughter, I helped her open the door, where she went from abusing me with her handbag to, well, I don't think I need to draw you a picture. Seriously though, after it took me about 3 months to get Jess to go out for a drink with me, where I quickly found that this girl can drink, which is probably a good thing. But joking aside, our relationship is based on honesty, love, and most of all, being able to have a laugh and a joke with one another and at one another. I'm a great believer in having these in a relationship, with these 3 things that are the most important. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, after meeting many of my family, you will find later on this evening all those 3 values shine out in all of us, especially the humour. When I turned around today in that church to see her in that wedding dress, I could not believe my eyes. I thought I would never see this day in my life, and to see my best friend stood in front of me looking so radiantly beautiful has made my life complete. Jess is 1 in a million. She holds a very special place in my heart, a very special place in Riley's heart, and I can safely say that she's welcome into my family with open arms. That is why I'd like you to please be upstanding and raise your glasses to the most wonderful and beautiful Mrs. Jessica Sheridan.
Mrs. Sheridan.
Mrs. Sheridan.
I now have the unfortunate pleasure of handing you over to my best friend, my brother from another mother, the best man.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not an experienced public speaker. I asked my brother if he had any tips for this speech. His tip was that it may be easier to read the speech word for word than remember it. I have also been drinking profusely for the last 2 hours. I made that tip up myself. As a best man, I will admit that I'm feeling nervous. I did tell Francis before we started the speeches that I was feeling funny. He said to me, "Perhaps you should do your speech now before it wears off." I would like to take this opportunity, before I begin dragging the skeletons out of France's cupboard, to thank the bridesmaids Jen, Charlotte, Phoebe, Risha and Rihanna, who all look absolutely fabulous. And I would also like to take a moment to say just how beautiful Jess looks. I am sure you all agree she looks stunning. I would like to thank the parents of the bride and the groom, Nigel and Jill, Mary and Frank, for helping to make this such a wonderful event. And to the hosts who have done a fantastic job today. I can't hold that paper. I would also like to thank everybody for coming, for making this such a special occasion, especially those friends and families who have travelled long distances to be here today. On behalf of all the attendants, I'd like to thank Francis for his heartfelt, sincere and carefully chosen words. It really has been a pleasure for us to have played a small part in your day, and I'm sure you'll all like to join me in congratulating the newlyweds on their special day. And now to Francis. I guess I was supposed to say a few words at Francis' expense, but frankly, expenses have been so high these last few months I don't think he could stretch to it. I've known Francis for a very long time. I lived at the bottom of Bloomfield Road and he lived just round the corner in Catherine Road. I'm sure I can vaguely remember the first time Francis and I met. He was leaning out of a pram, dribbling, gurgling, chundering away.
No changes.
Not making much sense at all, exactly. The pram's gone, it's now a VW way. And everything else is still the same. Well, it's hot in here, isn't it? It would be fair to say that Francis has always been prone to exaggeration. Coming up with wacky ideas or tall stories. In fact, you could say he had a bit of the blarney about him. I could talk about the time Frank came round my house and he said he had a good way to make money. He had made an aftershave with his own ingredients and he was going to sell it down the market. He said, smell this, Scott. I said, Fran, it smells like stale bread. He said, I know, but the birds all love it. Or when Fran, he had yet another great money-making idea when he was growing up. Fran was a big fan of the A-Team. I'm going to do a limousine rise with an 80s twist. This can't fail, Fran said. So he bought a knackered old American GMC van. His idea, he would repair it, respray it. Where am I? One of the 18 at Ferry Stag parties around Worcester. No doubt playing the theme tune at full volume on a very expensive in-van entertainment system. Wow, that van sat on the drive for almost a year, rusting, tyres going flat. There was birds nesting in the front grille. Fran, I can say that is one time a plan definitely didn't come together. But oh no, ladies, that it is. The one I remember most, it was during a dark, cold and snowy Sunday afternoon in December 1982, back when winters were winters. We lived right next door to the golf course and we used to spend a lot of time exploring, getting up to mischief as young boys do. One particularly snowy night, Fran said to me, let's go over the Gollies, as we used to call it. The lake will be frozen. I have skated on it loads of times. I said to Fran, I don't think it will be safe. He said, no, trust me, it will be fine. So we went out into the bleak afternoon like Scott and Captain Oates. We trudged through the snowdrifts until we got to the lake. When we arrived, the light was fading. We were the only two living souls on the course. The only sound you could hear was the sound of the howling wind, and the driving snow made it difficult to see. This gives you a rough idea where we're going here. Looks all right, I think it'll be okay, said Fran. What do you think? I think I want to go home, I said. Fran said, no, it'll be fine. I've done this loads of times before, so it's only fair you go first. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I was too cold to argue and I didn't know Fran well enough to say no. I put my left foot on the ice, followed by my right foot, and went immediately to the bottom of the lake. By blind chance, I surfaced back into the hole that I had made going down, and Fran reached out his hand, and he managed to haul myself out, and I lay coughing and spluttering on the snow. Your turn, Fran, I said. Fran took one look at me and said, I think we'd better get back home in the warm. Luckily, I know a shortcut. Soaking wet, blinded by the blizzard, too cold to argue, I followed Fran as we slogged our way across the golf course which was now several feet deep in snow. As we walked back, I started to get colder and colder. I started losing fingers, feeling in my fingers. My head was aching. Suddenly there was a bright light. Now, I've heard my grandmother talk about this, and I thought something was wrong. It was only when I felt the sand beneath my feet, I realised I had gone straight down a 6-foot bunker, snowdrift. Looking up, I saw the face of Fran peering in again. Yet again, once again, he reached in his hand, and once again, I was pulled out. I lay on the ground, coughing and spluttering. By now, my get up and go had got up and fecked up. And when we finally reached Fran's house, I was almost hypothermic. I still remember being sat in front of Fran's fire's house with a nice warm drink while Mary dried my clothes. Fran's dad came into the room and said to us, "You feckin' idiots. You haven't learned a lesson out yet." Well, ladies and gentlemen, I did learn a lesson. In fact, that night the DJ did save my life. So, ladies and gentlemen, you could say that in the 30 years we have been best friends, I have become an expert at knowing when Francis is talking blarney. However, when Francis told me he had found the one person that made him happy and he couldn't see himself with anyone else, I can honestly say that I've never heard Francis say anything so sincere and heartfelt. Now, as I'm sure you're all aware, it's a position to offer some advice to the newlyweds, and I was asked if I'd like to give some advice to this group. Fran, set some ground rules. Define your personal space and establish who's boss, then do everything Jess says. Right, ladies and gentlemen, they say that a good speech is like a mini skirt, short enough to keep it interesting, long enough to cover the essentials. But before I'd like to finish, I'd like to say a final heartfelt word. Franny and Jess, you're among people today who care about you very much and wish you all the happiness in the world. None of us here today will know exactly what the future holds. But whatever happens and wherever you go, I know you all have each other's love and you all also have ours. So with that in mind, on behalf of everyone here, I'd like to make a toast. Grab your glasses, folks. To Jess and Francis. May your love be modern enough to survive the times and old-fashioned enough to last. And may all your ups and downs be beneath the sheets. Thank you. Card if you'd like to take them out. On your do not open envelope. Get your pennies ready. I've got a mortgage that needs paying off. Don't scratch them off then if you all got them out. Have you all got them out? Tell me when you all got the scratch cards ready. Have we all got our scratch cards there? Yes. Right, get scratching.
Not fake ones,
You
I remember that was the next time we were at a wedding. So when it was loud, I should have done it earlier, I missed that time. No,